One, we choose a modality because it's the fad, or it's what is seems to be popular, or we overload with a whole bunch of things, like a whole bunch of video, right? Or I see it because it's kind of like the default. This is the way we've always done it. This is what we're gonna do. What I would say, what you want to do when you're thinking about your modalities is you have to have some information that you should have gotten in your analysis phase. You should know what the learner, right? Because I could design and build a fantastic 4K high definition learning video that's absolutely fantastic. But if my learners don't have the bandwidth to watch it, it doesn't do me any good, right? So you have to understand what your learner has, and we touched on it in a previous question already. We talked about just the technology and its use, right? That already could create a barrier. So we have to know where the learner's coming from and what they have to work with when we're choosing a modality. But we also have to understand the objective we're trying to achieve. And we don't want to have something that doesn't align well with meeting that objective, right? And we talked about a different ways where that would, increase cognitive load, right? Create frustration, create a barrier. We're trying to reduce that as an instructional designer. That's going to be that's one of our major roles when we're putting content together. We also want to not just overload, and just keep piling on a bunch of, all these videos or all this text or all these images. It'll just be too much. And, you and I have talked where, in education, a lot of times less is more, right? We're putting together what the learner needs to achieve the objective, and that's it, right? In the most efficient way we can, and reduce those barriers and mitigate the cognitive load, just to that germane load, but that friction we want to happen to create the learning, right? Aspects of it. Another thing that I see a lot, especially in like a lot of the e-learning authoring tools, there's kind of like this unwritten rule that the more times I make a learner click, I'm increasing the chances of retention. So it doesn't matter
Mm.
how many clicks you make, or, how many different videos are interacting. It's not automatically evidence that you're going to get engagement. It goes back to looking at it holistically and helping the learner navigate that learning in the most efficient and clear and concise way to get there. Right. So it's the same thing. Like, just because I add an AI activity doesn't mean I automatically made the learning better. Right? It has to be aligned with achieving that learning outcome based upon the target audience, right? Understanding where they're coming from, to help them get to that new point, as we go. And the point on technology, and we kind of talked about a little bit, but I would say also adding a technology, are you unintentionally measuring technical confidence and not the outcome you're trying to achieve? So
Right,
we have to kind of
exactly.
think about that. What are we actually doing and how are we measuring? Is it truly aligned with those objectives we're trying to achieve? And these are some small things you can do when you go back and look at designs and be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm doing those, make some small changes. And I think you'll see some, outsized outcomes from some of those simple little changes.
Right.